Good evening. You're watching the news at 6 with me, Shan Russell. The news at 6 is all about the day's biggest developing stories, and we'll be filling in on them over the next half hour. But first, the headlines that we're tracking right now. Terrorists trapped inside Jammu and Kashmir Entrepreneurship Development Institute complex in Pampore. One Jawan injured in the ongoing encounter with security forces. Ahead of the BRICS summit in Goa, China indicates that it is not willing to help India on core issues. India responds by talking tough on the trade between the two countries. The 2016 Nobel Prize in Economics awarded to UK-born Oliver Hart and Bengt Holmström of Finland. Swiss committee says their work on contract theory laid an intellectual foundation for policies in areas like bankruptcy legislation. And in the second US presidential debate, Republican Donald Trump defends his obscene remarks on women by launching a scathing attack against Hillary, and Bill Clinton claims that he will jail Hillary Clinton for the email server controversy. Our top story this evening, a soldier was injured on Monday in a gunfight that erupted after a group of terrorists opened fire at security forces in Jammu and Kashmir's Pampore district. A gun battle is underway as the operation is in progress to flush out the terrorists from a government building that was attacked by the terrorists earlier in February this year as well.
An intense gun battle is underway between security forces and terrorists inside a government building in Pampore district of Jammu and Kashmir. 2 to 3 terrorists are reportedly holed up inside the multi-storied Entrepreneurship Development Institute on the outskirts of Srinagar. Amid reports of a fire inside the building, an army soldier was injured. While there was no information about any hostages inside the building, the area was cordoned off and a search operation is underway.
सुबह जब नमाज का टाइम था ना, उसको आग जल रही थी मंजिल में, फिर उस टाइम फायर की हुए थे, 2-3 सुना हमने, बस उस टाइम से पीछे हालात खराब हो रही, फायरिंग चल रही है,
गोलीबारी हो रही थी, बिल्डिंग पे आग जल रही थी, ऐसे ऐसे अभी फायरिंग हुआ, अभी एक धमाका भी हुआ है. अब देखेंगे, पता नहीं कि अभी तक आर्मी भी यहाँ पे मौजूद है, फौज भी यहाँ पे मौजूद है, पुलिस भी.
Taking serious note of the spike in recent encounters and infiltration bids by the terrorists, the Congress said terror activities have gone up after the surgical strikes along the line of control.
पिछले कुछ दिनों से और खासकर जो लेटेस्ट सर्जिकल स्ट्राइक की बात की गई है, उसके बाद से इस तरह की घटनाएं और बढ़ी हैं, सीज फायर का उल्लंघन बढ़ा है, आतंकवादी गतिविधियां बढ़ी हैं, तो सरकार को इसको सख्ती से निपटना चाहिए.
These claims saying that we have done this and we have shown them, and कभी हनुमान की बात, कभी ये बात, मतलब इस तरह ये सब हो क्या रहा है? I mean, there is a serious issue involved about the sovereignty of our country, and the army is doing its best and doing an admirable job in safeguarding that. So let us all salute that and just keep quiet, let them do their job.
Authorities clamped curfew in 11 police station areas of Srinagar as a precautionary measure in view of the 8th day of Muharram. Restrictions were also imposed to maintain law and order. Normal life was affected for the 94th day in the rest of the valley. The unrest has till now claimed 84 lives, including 2 policemen, and left thousands of others injured in clashes between protesters and security forces. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Now, China has once again indicated that it is not willing to extend any olive branch on core issues concerning India. Ahead of the BRICS summit starting in Goa this week, China seems unlikely to entertain Indian concerns and will treat this just as business without making any effort to break the ice. This comes close on the heels of China saying that it was still opposed to the UN ban on Jaish-e-Mohammed chief Masood Azhar.
Membership of the Nuclear Supplies Group and terrorism will top the BRICS summit agenda this week. All eyes will be on whether China addresses these concerns. But going by pre-summit indications, Indian concerns are almost certain to hit the Chinese wall. On the question of proscribing Pathankot mastermind Masood Azhar in the UN, China is firmly backing Pakistan.
我的 外长在今年联大期间就反恐问题专门达成了共识。中方希望也相信这次领导人在国阿的会晤能够在以往我们的这个共识基础上。
Experts say the ambiguous Chinese statement is aimed at playing to the gallery.
Even if they whether deny or they facilitate our entry into the NSG, I don't think we have much to gain from it. And China also has having an eye that if India gains an entry into NSG, later on at some point of time it is going to push for Pakistan entry also into the NSG. So these are all linked issues.
Beijing has also indicated its unwillingness to support India's bid for membership of the Nuclear Supplies Group or NSG, but it wants to keep the doors open for talks.
希望我们金砖国家呢，我们的合作呢更具包容性，加大与其他地区组织、其他地区国家之间的合作。特别重要的就是，我们希望这次金砖国家的这个会晤，能够以 G20 达成的一些重要的共识，中方提出的一些方案，比如创新、发展这些重要的方案为指引。
Keeping up the pressure on the Indian leadership, Chinese President Xi Jinping will visit Dhaka in Cambodia before he reaches Goa on 15th October. India has been working on drawing Bangladesh and Cambodia close for last 2 years. Xi's visit to Dhaka, in fact, will be the first by any Chinese president in 30 years.
India is keeping calculated restraint on the issue of China before the BRICS summit. But it will be interesting to see whether Prime Minister Narendra Modi envisages BRICS as yet another economic bloc, or he wants political convergence on major issues plaguing India. Akhilesh Suman for Rajya Sabha Television with camera person Santosh in Delhi.
And we're joined by Pinak Ranjan Chakravarti, former Secretary in the Ministry of External Affairs. Ambassador Chakravarti, thank you so much for speaking to us. First of all, let's try to understand the larger context of Sino-Indian ties, because this is not just about Pakistan and China's friendship with that particular country, but also about the Sino-Indian relationship that has started nosediving to a bit, if I may say that.
Well, if I may describe China's actions to begin with for the NSG, it's like running with the hares and hunting with the hounds. So as China takes these positions, it is getting increasingly exposed on the international stage. That on one hand, it calls for tackling global terrorism, but on the other hand, it blocks the naming of a confirmed terrorist. So there is this dichotomy in Chinese position. Its willingness and to help Pakistan avoid censure, and at the same time trying to keep a slight door open on the NSG with India. So my sense is that the Chinese game will continue, because it can't dump Pakistan now, having spent 10 to 12 billion dollars in the corridor projects, right, etc. And yet it might also, without going public, might put pressure on Pakistan also, because its investments in Pakistan might be jeopardized otherwise, because all the projects that they are doing as part of the CPEC right up to Gwadar. Now, if Pakistan goes into a spin, there is turmoil, there is violence, and so at some point in time, China will have to take a call about how it wants to proceed with Pakistan. And of course, India will be a factor, and India will certainly take some countermeasures, like on the trade front. I think it is most likely that some countermeasures will come.
All right.
And then we'll see what are the other areas that some countermeasures can be taken.
All right, so you're talking about measures that could be possibly taken by India, especially to make China realize in the light of what the Chinese have been doing at the UN and otherwise diplomatically as well. But Ambassador Chakravarti, also trying to understand now that the BRICS summit is coming up, and BRICS as a forum had started to gain momentum. The BRICS Bank had been set up. Now, do Sino-Indian ties and the shadow of Pakistan, the fact that the SAARC summit is not going to happen, do all those factors also play in, or do we see the BRICS agenda move forward irrespective?
No, I don't think the BRICS agenda is totally sort of divorced from what is happening in the region as such. And by that I mean what is happening between India and Pakistan. India is going to make a push and will denounce terrorism, etc., whereas Chinese will try to prevent that from happening and try to protect Pakistan, because the Chinese see Pakistan as their little boy who's doing their work in terms of needling India, in keeping India bogged down in South Asia. So China is playing a long-term game, and whether it will succeed or not is of course a question that will be answered by all the countries. But I feel that the BRICS agenda will only move in some areas where there is not too much controversy. Hence, I think that the BRICS agenda will not get into any groundbreaking kind of domain. So I think this will be again another effort to see where some degree of congruence can be achieved. But at the moment, the atmosphere seems too vitiated for any major progress, because India is not going to accept China, carrying on like this, protecting Pakistan and playing a double game all the time.
All right, so let's try to understand the measures. You mentioned economic measures. Now, what could we be looking at? Could we be looking at souring of trade relations? Do we look at protectionism versus Chinese goods in India? What can we expect?
Well, we can expect certain trade-related measures which will try to reduce Chinese imports into India, because that itself now our trade imbalance is so huge. We seem to be importing so much more, whereas China keeps blocking our exports into their market. So I think some measures on the trade front are very likely. Because we can't carry on like this with this huge trade imbalance. Mm-hmm. Although some imports are essential also for our own industry and for our own manufacturing. But some measures will have to be taken so that there is a realization that India is also going to complicate matters for China.
All right. So India and China sparring right now. Let's see what happens at the BRICS summit later in the week. But Ambassador Pinak Ranjan Chakrabarti, thank you very much for coming in and helping us understand the story a little better. Now, moving on about news about Tamil Nadu, because about speculation about Chief Minister Jayalalitha's poor health has become quite rife. Her political adversaries and supporters alike have been visiting her at the hospital. Even though the doctors treating her have said she is responding to medication, calls for an interim chief minister to take over the reins of the state are also on the rise.
I am confident that she has a strong willpower and yet she is always a fighter. I am confident she will fight back and become normal and continue to serve the people of Tamil Nadu.
Union Minister M. Venkaiah Naidu describing Tamil Nadu Chief Minister J. Jayalalitha as a fighter. The senior BJP leader visited the AIADMK Supremo on Sunday at the hospital where she is undergoing treatment. He also made a courtesy call on the governor on Monday morning amid speculation that Jaya would not be fit to return anytime soon.
We should not allow rumors or speculation to be spread. That's neither good in the interest of public nor in the interest of the persons who are hospitalized. That's why my earnest appeal and opinion to all is, please do not speculate.
I've had a very good briefing, conversation with Dr. Reddy himself. He spared valuable time for me, and he said that Amma is under very good care, and he says she's progressing.
Since Jayalalitha was admitted to the hospital, speculation about her health have been rife. The opposition DMK has even demanded that an interim chief minister or acting CM be named till the time Jayalalitha returns.
This is a matter to be decided by that party. This is a matter to be decided by that party which has got majority. How can anybody from outside say you have deputy CM? Or there are ministers now. After chief minister, there are ministers. Ministers will be performing their responsibilities. When the Prime Minister goes out of the country, still we are all ministers.
Special prayers are meanwhile being held across the state for the CM's health. 68-year-old Jayalalitha, who has a cult-like following in Tamil Nadu, was admitted to a hospital in Chennai on September 22nd after she complained of fever and dehydration. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Some more national news updates now in Nationwide. An FIR was filed on Sunday by a former Aam Aadmi Party volunteer against the party MLA Naresh Balyan, who is one of the supporters. In turn, filed a cross FIR in an assault case. In his FIR, former volunteer Henry George is accused Naresh Balyan and his associate of attacking him and issuing a threat to his life. A case was also registered against George on the basis of a complaint by one of the MLA's associates. Human rights crusader Iram Sharmila is likely to set up a new regional political party to contest the upcoming Manipur Assembly polls due early next year. Sharmila announced that she will fight the polls from Thobal, the home constituency of Chief Minister Okrami Bobi Singh, on the key agenda to remove AFSPA. Sharmila ended her fast against the controversial AFSPA Act after she was released in bail on 9th August. Ahead of the Uttar Pradesh Assembly elections, Chief Minister Akhilesh Yadav today launched the Free Samajwadi Smartphone Yojana. The scheme allows Class 10 pass-outs of Uttar Pradesh above the age of 18 and earning less than 6 lakh rupees per year free smartphones. The registration for the Free Samajwadi Smartphone scheme will continue for a month between 10th October to 10th November. The Apex Education Advisory Body in NCRT has advised the Narendra Modi government against scrapping the policy of no detention or automatically promoting students up to Class 8, introduced by the previous UPA regime. The advisory body has conveyed the same view to the Human Resources Development Ministry. The view runs contrary to the efforts of the Prakash Javadekar-led HRD Ministry, which has been keenly pushing for doing away with no detention clause under the Right to Education Act. Time for us to take a short break. Lots more on the other side. Do stay tuned.
Ghata, one of the oldest and most unique percussion instruments of southern India. You can play it not only with your fingers, but palms, wrists and heels as well. You'll be surprised, but the air inside the ghatam reverberates, creating the musical notes. 5 elements of nature, earth, water, air, fire and space make up the composition of this beautiful musical piece, which has found an apt place in most of the ancient books.
Welcome back. You're watching the news at 6. Now, the 2016 Nobel Prize in Economics has been awarded to UK-born Oliver Hart and Bengt Holmström of Finland. The pair won the prize for their work on contract theory, which laid an intellectual foundation for policies in areas such as bankruptcy legislation and political constitutions. Hart is an economics professor at Harvard University, while Holmström is a professor of economics and management at the Massachusetts Institute of Technology. While Hart's work helped to understand which companies should merge and when institutions such as schools should be privately or publicly owned, Holmström's work helped how to formulate contracts for executives. They will receive 8 million Swedish kroners from the committee.
This prize is about contracts, and contracts is really a very fundamental phenomenon that I think, so this is very fundamental, and the theories that Hart and Holmström have developed are incredibly important for us to understand these types of contracts and institutions. This theory has really been incredibly important, not just for economics, but also for other social sciences.
Now, the second U.S. presidential debate on Sunday saw Donald Trump defending his obscene remarks about groping women by launching a defiant attack against Hillary and Bill Clinton. While Clinton chose not to address his comments about her husband, the contentious town hall debate even had the Republican presidential candidate stating that he will appoint a special prosecutor to look into Hillary's email use and putting her in jail.
The stage was set for a bruising debate on Sunday when the rivals greeted each other without the traditional handshake. The contestants lost no time in getting down to an acrimonious discussion on the 2005 video in which Trump used vulgar language.
That was locker room talk. I'm not proud of it. I am a person who has great respect for people, for my family, for the people of this country, and certainly I'm not proud of it. But that was something that happened.
The defiant Republican claimed that President Bill Clinton had done worse to women. Not stopping at that, he threatened that if he won the White House, he would put the former U.S. Secretary of State Hillary Clinton in jail for operating a private email server.
But for you to say that there was nothing wrong with you deleting 39,000 emails, again, you should be ashamed of yourself, what you did. And this is after getting a subpoena from the United States Congress.
We have to move on. Secretary Clinton, you can respond, and then we got to move on.
We want to give the audience a chance
put
here.
in jail, let alone after getting a subpoena from the United States
Secretary
Congress.
Clinton, was about
Hillary Clinton responded that Trump's comments showed he was unfit for the White House.
What we all saw and heard on Friday was Donald talking about women, what he thinks about women, what he does to women. And he has said that the video doesn't represent who he is. But I think it's clear to anyone who heard it that it represents exactly who he is. Because we've seen this throughout the campaign. We have seen him insult women. We've seen him rate women on their appearance, ranking them from 1 to 10. We've seen him embarrass women on TV and on Twitter. We saw him after the first debate spend nearly a week denigrating a former Miss Universe in the harshest, most personal terms. So, yes, this is who Donald Trump is.
The debate's town hall style format allowed the candidates to move freely around the stage and address the questioners directly. It brought into focus the body language of the contestants. While Clinton stood directly in front of the questioners to connect with voters, Trump stood almost over her shoulder or paced up and down the stage. Social media comments showed that Trump had unsettled quite a few voters with his behavior.
To be honest, I don't even think there was a winner, to be completely honest. I think it's almost exactly like the first debate. I kind of heard the exact same things. I'll say Trump did a better job of pointing out the things that the public wanted him to point out, and I'm sure Hillary pointed out the things that the Democrats wanted her to point out, but at the same point, I think it's kind of already decided. Those undecided voters, I'm not sure that this helps them.
Trump and Clinton clashed on a series of topics throughout the debate, battling over taxes, healthcare, U.S. policy in the Syrian civil war, and Clinton's comments that half of Trump's supporters belonged in a basket of deplorables.
Within hours, I said that I was sorry about the way I talked about that, because my argument is not with his supporters, it's with him and with the hateful and divisive campaign that he has run, and the inciting of violence at his rallies, and the very brutal kinds of comments about not just women, but all Americans, all kinds of Americans.
In contrast to the chilly opening, as the moderators announced the end of the debate, the two candidates turned towards each other and shook hands. Asked to name one thing each admired about the other, Clinton said she respected his children for their ability and devotion to Trump. In response, Trump called her a fighter and said he admired her for her refusal to give up. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Now, torrential rains accompanying Hurricane Matthew have triggered severe flooding in North Carolina in the United States. The storm, however, slowed down to make its exit into the sea. The death toll in the U.S. due to the storm has climbed to at least 16. The storm, which has killed at least 1,000 people in Haiti, was stripped of hurricane status before it pounded the U.S. East Coast. Rivers and creeks overflowed, driving people from their homes and trapping others as much as 100 miles inland. Forecasters said North Carolina and Virginia could have even more rain and warned of danger of life-threatening flooding through Monday night. Meanwhile, Haiti has begun 3 days of national mourning for those killed. The south of the country has been devastated. Tens of thousands of homes have been destroyed and some 350,000 people are in need of aid. Cholera is a major fear, while several deaths reported as of food supply, given the destruction of the crops. Some more international news now in Global Buzz. The United States and South Korea began a joint naval drill called Invincible Spirit 2016 on Monday in South Korean waters. This is a show of force against North Korean provocations. The U.S. deployed a nuclear-powered aircraft carrier USS Ronald Reagan, along with 7 warships, with South Korea mobilizing 40 warships. Russian President Vladimir Putin is set to meet Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan in Istanbul on the sidelines of the World Energy Congress. The two leaders are expected to advance joint energy projects, including Russian plans for a natural gas pipeline called Turkish Stream that would carry gas beneath the Black Sea to Turkey and to European markets. Russia is also building Turkey's first nuclear power station. French Foreign Minister Jean-Marc Ayrault has said on Monday that he will ask the International Criminal Court to investigate possible war crimes in Syria. He also said that President François Hollande will take into account the situation in Syria's Aleppo in deciding whether to see Russian President Vladimir Putin when he visits Paris this month. The United States said it condemned the shooting spree in Jerusalem on Sunday that killed a pedestrian and a police officer near Israel's National Police Headquarters. A woman and a policeman were killed and 6 others injured after the terrorists sprayed bullets at passersby from a moving car. The shooter was later shot dead by the police. 2 missiles fired from rebel-held territory in Yemen landed near a U.S. warship in the Red Sea. The incident occurred when the destroyer was conducting routine operations in international waters. The U.S. Navy said it was unclear if the guided missile destroyer was specifically targeted. No sailors were reported injured and there was no damage to the warship. Time for some sports now, and in cricket, India were batting for 18 for the loss of no wickets in their second innings on day 3 of the third test match in Indore. Earlier, New Zealand failed to make most of a strong start and were dismissed for 299, conceding a 276-run first innings deficit to India on Monday. Resuming on 28 without loss in reply to India's 557 for 5 declared, New Zealand responded positively with Martin Guptill and Tom Latham featuring in the first century opening stand of the series. However, spinner Ravichandran Ashwin wrecked the tourists in the second session with 5 wickets. He took 6 wickets, giving away just 81 runs in total. India lead the 3-match series 2-1, having won the first 2 tests.
Has his bat in the air.
That's all from us. Goodbye.